Welcome back to the She Lives with MS podcast. This is Michaela Michelle, and today we're going to be talking about one of the things that people really don't talk about, especially being a woman living with MS, and that is feeling ugly. This conversation is a reality for us women who are living with multiple sclerosis, because when MS progresses, things start to change, and then they've changed really fast. For me, I started out with relapsing remitting MS, and then I progressed really quickly to secondary progressive MS. And what did this progression do? It stole what little freedom I had left. And it has left me feeling ugly, drained, fatigued, old, dried up, and, not gonna lie, asexual. You know, I don't know about you, but when I started to really progress in this condition, the fatigue, the drop foot, the numbness, the brain fog, depression, anxiety, cognitive issues, weight gain, and horrible weight loss became my reality. How about you? What happened for you? In the middle of all this, I was going through menopause. Like, really? Now I have to go through menopause while I'm experiencing the biggest change in MS in my life? So then let's start talking about the hot flashes and the rage and even more brain fog, bloating, vaginal dryness, and atrophy, vaginal atrophy. I had never heard of that before now. But that's what happens. Your vagina shrinks. And then you get a non-existent sex drive, which is really kicking my backside, because before I used to be nice and lively, and now I feel like a dried up prune. Can you relate? Because is it me? Am I going through this alone? I'm assuming that you are a woman living with MS, and you might be feeling exactly the way I do. Because MS changes how your body moves. It steals your muscle tone. It creates atrophy, causes weakness, and even for some of us, it might even create facial asymmetry and posture changes. Like, what is going on? What is this? These changes are a real thing, and someone needs to talk about it. You know, back in the day, we used to move freely, right? You're walking, you're doing your thing, you're going out, you're having fun. But now your reality, and my reality, is the stiffness, the spasms, the difficulty walking. And that ultimately changes the way we look and how we feel seen, like how other people see us. And look, I've already introduced you to the concept of then you're middle-aged, like I am, and then you're going through the aging process. Like, really? Can you give us a break here? Wrinkly skin, the what I call the little waddle underneath the chin, like that double chin situation. Hair thinning. I don't know about you, but every time I brush my hair, I have almost half of my hair sitting inside that brush. And I'm looking at that brush thinking, where did all this hair come from? And then when I put my hair in a ponytail, the ponytail is the tiniest and most skinniest ponytail I've ever had in my entire life. I don't know about you, but the mirror has become my nightmare. And then we can't do as much as we did before, right? So then that means that we become less strong. And then factor in the MS fatigue, the neuropathy, and the numbness, which also takes a toll. My goodness, even now that I'm talking about this, I can't even believe that I am even willing and strong enough to record these podcast episodes, because this sucks. And these internal changes create those external changes. And then those external changes create issues with our self-image. And the worst part of it, being like brain fog and confused and feeling crappy all the time. No wonder when we look in the mirror, we feel ugly. I wound up finding in my collection of books, because I'm a bookworm, this book about positive psychology. And of course, when I looked at the book and I was like, okay, I rolled my eyes like, yeah, okay, let's try to be positive while living with MS, right? But this book reminded me that where your focus goes, your energy flows. And that we have a choice on what we want to focus on. And we need to then refocus our energy and our attention to what's really good about who we are. Like for me, I had to refocus my energy off of the mirror, off of the scale, right? And off of my bloated belly and double chin, and focus on what my strengths are in this season of my life. Like for me, I'm resilient. For me, I'm a fighter. For me, I will not accept no for an answer. I'm curious. What about you? What is your value? What is your purpose? What makes you different and what makes you amazing? Because if you can identify those things and focus on that every day and repeat that to yourself every day, look, I'm strong. I can get through this. No one's going to get me down. I'm a boss babe. Whatever it is, I'm going to remind you that you can refocus your energy and start to say good things and powerful things over yourself. Speak life over yourself. And it's interesting because there is a concept that I didn't even know existed until recently, and it's called toxic positivity. And this toxic positivity is the feel positive, be positive, look on the bright side. Even though you have MS, even though you poop yourself, even though you pee on yourself, even though you could barely walk, look on the bright side. I call that, and the positive psychology people call that toxic positivity. And you know what? That toxic positivity is not what I am talking about. What I'm asking you to do is to be honest about where you are. Be honest about what you're experiencing. Be honest about feeling ugly, about feeling tired, about feeling broken. Because being honest about it and acknowledging the truth sets you free. It's when we hold it all in and let it ruminate that it really harms us. Look, I used to be, just a quick little aside, I used to be a agency model in New York City, and I modeled for over 20 years. And I was a professional model. This was before Instagram and TikTok, right? This was when you had to have a modeling agency, and the modeling agency would send you out to go get modeling jobs. And so in my mind, my looks were my value. Like I found my personal value in my looks. And when MS took all of that away from me, what I was left with was feeling ugly and feeling dried up and feeling less than beautiful. Like, let me just be honest. I was feeling fugly. And I realized that I was focusing too much of what I was seeing in the mirror, and I was focusing too much on if my pants were fitting too tight, or if I had to go up or 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 sizes in the clothing in my closet. And then I realized, look, I don't need to focus on that anymore. That's in the past. This is a new season. What can you focus on, Michaela, that can then help you to feel better about yourself? So what I'm asking you to do is to give yourself an opportunity to, number 1, acknowledge the truth, and then number 2, reframe the conversation and remind yourself about how strong you are. Remind yourself about how resilient you are. Remind yourself remind yourself about the fact that you are an overcomer, okay? Speak truth over yourself. I like to say to myself, I am fearfully and wonderfully made by God. That's an affirmation that I say to myself. And I'm also going to invite you to celebrate small wins. Like if today you're feeling good and you're not as fatigued as yesterday, celebrate that. Celebrate every time you have a moment of release from the grips of MS. and lean into your relationship with the God that is way bigger than you and than this condition. Lean on God. Have Him help you to work through those feelings. And then surround yourself with people that are positive individuals, the people who support you, the people who love you in the middle of your mess. This reframe, this gentle reframe has really helped me to be stronger and to, number one, acknowledge the difficulties of living with MS, but then number two, reframing that so that I can speak life over myself. And then at the end of all that, take a moment and feel grateful that the Lord still has you on this earth. Feel grateful that you can still use your body, and feel grateful that you're not in a hospital bed, hooked up to wires, on life support, fighting for your life. There are people that are worse off. I am not devaluing your experience or mine. What I'm telling you is that there's always somebody else that's living a bigger nightmare than you are. So sis, I'm going to end with this. Feeling ugly is not a failure. It's a moment. It's a season. But it won't be your reality forever, because you are precious and you are loved and you are seen and God is with you. Even if you don't feel His presence, He's with you. Even if you really don't believe in God, believe it or not, He's with you. So I want to remind you that feeling ugly is a reality, but it's not the end of the road. You have an opportunity to reframe your thought process and to start focusing on your value and what's amazing about you. Thank you for letting me walk in this with you. If today's episode spoke to you, please head to my blog at michaelalogue.online and download the free MS Depression and Self-Image resource guide, which I've created as a free download. And also follow along at She Lives with MS on Instagram and at Christian Spiritual Formation if you are looking to build a deeper relationship with God. And remember, MS might change what you see in the mirror, but it doesn't change how valuable you are. You have dignity and you deserve to respect yourself. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll catch you in our next episode. Take care now. Bye-bye.